Unity of the Huachucas presents Susan Smith, LUT.
More than enough.
All right. Oh, hello, everyone. Wow, I love that song. Gosh, I love Daniel Lima, and I just thought, wow, someone might be hearing it for the first time. What a friend, what a gift. So, it's good every time you hear it. So, good morning, everyone. So, I was wondering, did any of you guys grow up watching Romper Room?
Yeah. I was on Romper Room as a little girl in Alaska.
Okay.
I had my old certificate. I actually said, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's
I mentioned Romper Room just for Lori. I didn't know it. There we go. Anyway, but it's interesting. So I was trying to find out something, to remember something about Romper Room. There's a lot of stuff about Romper Room on YouTube. It's kind of interesting if you feel nostalgic. But what I remember watching Romper Room. It was really for preschoolers, but I really remember watching it when I was homesick from school. I'd watch that, and I'd watch Edge of Night. A nice, well-balanced day. Damn. But one of the things I loved about Romper Room was that the teacher would use her imagination. She always had the students that use her imagination. And there was this part where she did this thing with the magic mirror. And if you watched Romper Room, you would remember it. If you don't worry, I'm going to tell you about it. So she would hold this magic mirror, and it was a handheld mirror. It was empty in the middle, so she could see through it. She'd hold it, and she'd hold it up to her face, and she'd go, I'm going to hold my magic mirror. And then the kids at home, she'd start saying their names. I see Tanya. I see Kathy. I see Susan. And I'm just, you thought that she really saw you, because that was the active power of our imagination. It was so much fun. I also think there was part of imagination hacks, but I can't confirm that. I might have made that up. But anyway, there was a magic mirror. And what I want to talk about today is, what if we all had our own magic mirror of using our imagination? And we do. Imagination is one of our 12 powers, our 12 abilities that we teach in Unity, which are 12 faculties, abilities, which allow us to express the divine which we are. And imagination is one of those. Sometimes we use imagination in a way that's not so helpful, right? Anytime we worry, anytime we doubt, anytime we question, it's not enough. Lack, limitation. I'm talking about what we're thinking. I'm not talking about the facts. If there's $0 in your bank account, there's $0 in your bank account, okay? But what you think about it, that's the lack and limitation. And in Unity, we teach, and we believe, or what we teach in our beliefs, is that there's more than enough. There's more than enough of whatever we need in order to take care of ourselves. And sometimes that comes, and that always comes in the idea of ideas. What's mine to do? What's mine to do with this situation? So I just want you guys to okay, I'm going to take a minute, take my little magic mirror, and just say, okay, there's more than enough love. There's more than enough peace. There's more than enough friends. There's more than enough resources. There's more than enough creativity. I could go on. There's more than enough beauty. There's so many things. I want you to kind of just, you don't have to do this if you want, but take just a few seconds. What is it that you want to see in that magic mirror? What is the more than enough that you want to see in your life, that you want to hold on to? I want you to think about that for just a moment. Okay, bring you back to my attention here. It feels good, right? To just imagine, use that magic mirror. What was that book? Everything I Needed to Learn, I learned in kindergarten. I think there's some truth to that, right? Honestly, I think there's something to that. So it feels good. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how we can access that power of imagination, use our power of imagination to affirm and call forth. Because these abilities are things we can call forth into service. And I want to call forth our faith faculty. Because when we're talking about there being more than enough, we're talking about our faith faculty. What do we believe? So how do we call this forth? So that's what I'm going to focus on today. I love that so much. So I'm going to say, if you had any trouble doing that, or if you have any trouble thinking there's more than enough, don't feel bad about it, right? We live in a world where we don't always hear that, right? We don't always get those messages that there's more than enough. You turn on the TV, lots of us stream and this and that, but there's advertising. There's things telling us, if you get this, you're going to be happy. You don't even know you need this, but once you have it, this is going to fill that blank. Or how about advertisements for politicians, right? And political things, and parties, and movements. Well, you know what? This is a threat to your way of living. These people are other. They're going to take something away from you. Your family, you are in danger. And we care about our family. We love them, right? We love our way of life. These messages work on us intentionally. So our job is to go, oh no, get behind me. Let that doubt go. That's just a natural part of being human. There's nothing wrong with buying products. There's nothing wrong with supporting a particular position in politics because we all are here collectively and we have to run this country and figure out a way. But just do it mindfully. And I would encourage you to just remember, always go back and ground yourself in that more than enough consciousness. I was just thinking about commercials. So I remember that. I guess I was in like a nostalgia mood. Remember that curlers in your hair, shame on you. And there was a Dippity-Doo commercial. I don't know why. That one is in my head forever. And this woman, she was driving in a car, she had curlers in her hair, and she, and then someone was like, curlers in your hair, shame. You know what? There's more than enough, Grace, that you can go out with curlers in your hair. I'm just going to tell you right now. And guess what? You don't have to have curlers in your hair. There's more than enough. So anyway, that was just like that. Why is that still in my head? I don't know why. It made an impression on me. So in Unity, we have a law called the law of mind action. So it's the thoughts held in mind tend to produce after their own kind. So basically, the whole thing is that we have circumstances, something is happening to us, and we get to choose our thoughts about them. That's what we're talking about, okay? And then the more we choose our thoughts, and the more we take control of the narrative of the story we're telling about the circumstances, the more optimal our choices are probably going to be, right? We're more going to be a conduit to those divine ideas. We're going to be more harmonizing with the people and the places and the things that are going to support us. So that's what we're talking about. It's not some magical thing. It's actually a spiritual principle. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about prosperity and surplus. Surplus. That's funny I said that. That's something to do with my work. Anyway, having more than enough. Now, according to the Revealing Word, this is the definition for prosperity. And the Revealing Word is the dictionary for New Thought, basically, that was founded many years ago. And this is the definition. I really like it. Prosperity is the consciousness of God as the abundant, everywhere present resource, unfailing, ready for all who open themselves to it through faith. Unfailing, abundant, ever-present, open themselves to it through faith. So how do we open ourselves up to faith? So that's what I want to talk about. How do we do that, y'all? How do we do that? And I'm going to talk about calling forth that power of faith, that power ability that we have. Okay, that's one of those special powers. And I'm going to use a book called Divine Audacity by Reverend Linda Artella. I cannot speak today. Artella Whitsitt. And she has done each of the powers, and she defined 3 different attributes of faith. And I'm going to talk about those. Those 3 are perception, conviction, and expectancy. And so I really want to just dive into those. How can we call forth our perception? How can we use that to help us see more than enough, rather than be bound by lack, limitation, and it's not the ideas of that, the fear and the doubt that we feel because we feel lack and limitation. How can we call forth these attributes? And the first one I want to talk about is perception. And this is a quote from her book. Two particular perceptions support powerful faith. Our perception of the absolute truth or spiritual principle underlying all human material conditions. So that's knowing that there's not a spot where God is not. That is knowing that we stand on solid ground no matter the winds of change around us. That we can ground ourselves. And if we don't remember this for ourselves, we can ask a friend. We can call silently for prayer. We are on solid ground regardless of whether the ground is literally shaking beneath us. That's what that is. And knowing those principles that we can rely on and utilize and make our lives better because of them. And then the second thing is in our perceptions of possibilities. So we're talking about more than enough, right? We're talking about the perception of possibilities. So that is the two things. So like I said, it's not about what's happening. People can have the same type of circumstances and shape it differently through their thinking to have a different experience of it. When I was working for Mervyn's, we went out of business when I worked there. And my experience was, I decided, my perception of that was, I'm going to be curious. It was 2008. It was not a great time to find a full-time job. And I didn't find one right away. And I'm like, I'm going to be curious. What does this look like? And that really worked for me. I ended up getting a job somewhere else that really benefited me because I had hours off where I could take classes at my spiritual center and become a licensed UA teacher. Interestingly enough, my bank account went down because this full-time job did not pay as well. You know what I had to do? I had to move in with my mom. But I'm just like curious, what is this? That was okay. Maybe it was time. Maybe she needed me. And she did. She did need me. I didn't realize it, but she did. So I just went into that with a curious, but I could have been resentful. I could have had a whole different experience than that, right? So I chose to have faith and perceive this as, okay, I'm curious, what's going to come here? And I'm grounded in my knowing that I knew what the next step and the next step and the next step was. I didn't need to see the whole way ahead. I just needed to know what the next thing was to do. And then the next thing. And that's being grounded in that principle. So that's what we mean by perception. There's a great quote, it's one of my very favorite quotes. It's from a fortune cookie. And it is, don't let statistics do a number on you. Don't let statistics do a number on you. Doesn't mean we ignore them. I'm a fan of science. I'm a fan of statistics. I think they can help us make great decisions and choices as human beings, moving about together as a community and in our own lives. But don't let them do a number on you. They don't define you. So that to me is a perception. And just think about so this tool is, where are you placing your awareness? Where are you placed? How are you seeing things? My sister Sandy had a foster son, Joe. And when he was living with us for 4 years, I would drive him regularly to high school. Not every day, but often I would give him a ride to his high school. And I would always point out, like, oh, Joe, look at that sunrise. So beautiful. Or we'd see an animal or, something in the world. And just something really beautiful. And Sandy did the same thing. She often would say the same thing, like, oh, look, they take drives to point things out at the time. And honestly, when I first knew Joe, and I would point out the sunset, sunrise, and it would be so beautiful, I don't think Joe could see it. I quite honestly don't think he had been taught to perceive the beauty in the world around him. And there was a reason, because Joe had to fight for his survival in life. And so I was really glad that we were able to change his perception, but that's perception. Are you seeing? What are you looking at? Another one, kind of funny, I had run into a fence at work. Luckily I didn't hurt the fence, but I did hurt little Betty, bright, beautiful Betty, BB3 out there, and she got damaged, and I had not fixed her yet. One day I was driving home, and the car was like flapping away, and this woman's like, hey, duct tape. Duct tape. And I'm like, okay. And I did that. And you'll see it's duct tape right now. Betty, I'm going to get you, Betty. Don't worry. And, but what I've noticed now is the great joy of duct tape. And I see it on cars all over the place. Like, there are many. One time I saw one exactly like mine, and I'm like, oh, Betty, it's like your cousin. So duct tape is everywhere. So we have experiences, and then we start having a different perception. So we get to decide what to do with it. I think that's kind of wonderful. That doesn't bother me. I think it's wonderful. So you get to decide. Now, this idea of perception is so important to me, and I want to talk a little bit about the Fillmores. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were the founders of Unity. And Myrtle Fillmore has 2 books. We have 2 books from her. They're basically based on the writings. She used to write letters. And this is a letter she wrote. And this, my symbol, Reverend Linda suggests using symbols for the powers. My symbol for faith is a lily because of this reading. This is Myrtle Fillmore writing to someone. I do not believe that the lily feels the terrors of darkness down at the bottom of the pond, nor does it allow the mud and water that shut out much of the light to keep it from appropriating the good that is provided for it. You know, sometimes we just find ourselves kind of in the muck, right? And pushing surely and intelligently upward to the freedom and light that were there for it long before the bulb began to swell and burst. I am sure that the lily is conscious only of the food in the earth and the warmth and helpfulness of the sun and air. Perception. It's a way of looking at perception. It works for me. You know, when you think of a lily and they're down in these mucky, dark ponds, and of course that's an environment it thrives in, you know, if we look at science, but it's this idea. Where are you thriving? You might feel like you're in a bit of a mucky situation, but that seed, that truth of who you are is always there. All right, so today, instead of doing one final meditation, I'm going to kind of give us 3. So I'm going to start with a denial and affirmation. We're going to take a minute and just kind of focus on this idea of perception. As I say this, now denial is simply just letting go of our attachment to the thought of lack and limitation. Okay, it's just letting the limitation, but not enough, those thoughts, and letting let that power go, and then affirming the truth, standing in that principle. So if it's comfortable for you, I encourage you to close your eyes, take a breath if you'd like, ground yourself in any way that's comfortable for you. I'm going to say these words, and we're just going to take a minute and just think. I'll say them a couple times, and I'll let you think about them. Okay, meditate on them. I let go of seeing things through the eyes of lack and limitation. God is, I am. I perceive that there is more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. God is, I am. I perceive that there is more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. Okay, I'm going to say this one more time. Just try to remember this. Try to think these words are inside your heart. God is, I am. I perceive that there's more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. And so it is. All right. So the next word or attribute of faith is that I want to share about is conviction. That's a strong belief, right? You have the conviction. We know it. And again, I'm just going to turn to Myrtle Fillmore and Charles Fillmore, because the unity movement was based on faith. That was a faith-based journey. And it began when Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore walked into a lecture by E.B. Boots. And she heard these words. And these words, she knew them in the very core of her being that this was the truth. She had complete conviction. You are a child of God, therefore you do not inherit sickness. And Myrtle Fillmore just knew this was the truth. She heard this, and she knew it. Now, that was her conviction, but the thing with Myrtle was, it just wasn't one, okay, I know this is true, now I'll go on and on. She kept bringing this to her awareness. At that time, Myrtle Fillmore had been given a terminal diagnosis. We understand that she had tuberculosis. I think that's the general understanding at this point. But they were just generally a poor and sickly lot. That's what they said about themselves, her and her husband. And she wasn't doing well, but she heard this. So she sat in prayer. And her prayer was just apologizing to her body. I'm sorry I held this thought that you weren't doing well. Lungs, I love you. You're strong. I don't inherit. Because she heard all her life, she heard that she'd inherited illness. So that for her was a special message. But she had conviction that she was the divine, that she was expressing as divine. Now, for her case, in 2 years, Myrtle did have a recovery, and she did recover from that. Doesn't always happen. Healing doesn't always mean cure. But she was healed when she really had that message, and she knew it. I'm going to say that. She did have a cure. her husband started seeing what was going on with her, Charles. He's like, I'm going to take it to headquarters. And he started praying. He started having his own demonstrations. And then they started Unity. In 1891, the first publication of Modern Thought happened. That's when we marked the beginning of Unity. And there were many trials and tribulations along the way. You know, think about when that was. 1891, they had World War I, they had the Great Depression, they had World War II to look forward to. They had a lot going on. They had a lot happening. They also had people coming in and they would say, we don't have enough money to pay our staff. But they just went on faith. They had conviction. They kept going. I say this because circumstances don't always show what we believe in our consciousness, right? Sometimes we just have to move forward, and the demonstration of their faith is where we're at right now. We're here right now talking about it. And if you go to Unity Village, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. They had to stop building on Unity Village because of financial issues at one point. But they didn't give up. They had conviction, and they fed that conviction through a constant outpouring of affirmative prayer. Unity is a prayer ministry, first and foremost. And they kept affirming that. So that's what we have to do for ourselves. How do we affirm our conviction? Through constant prayer, through constantly reminding ourselves. Remembering, if the Fillmores did it, we can do it. They are our teachers. And I do have in Unity, we do metaphysical interpretation. And one of the interpretations for Satan is doubt. And I've just always loved this ever since I heard this. And I heard, get back, Satan. Get back doubt. Get back doubt, right? So when we think that there's not enough, that's doubt, right? And when we think and we're worried and concerned and scared about it, not pretending things aren't what they are, but when it causes us fear, when we don't know what we're going to do, get back doubt. Get back Satan. And yes, it's been a while. It's time for a song, Purity. Okay. I'm going to do my best, okay? This is, I couldn't help myself. The song Get Back from the Beatles just came to my head when I started thinking about this. So this is my best. Get back. Get back. Get back. I get to decide what I think. Get back. Get back. Think this. Get back. This doubt isn't going to rule me. Get back, Satan. Get back, doubt. Go on now. I got this. Get back. Get back. Back away where you no longer limit my thinking. Get back. Get back. Back away from my consciousness. Get back, Satan. Get back, doubt. Go on now. I got this. I just couldn't help myself. I kept thinking it. So anyway, I think that's a great way. And get back is a way of denial. Okay, we're not, it's a negation. It's letting go of the power these negative thoughts of lack and limitation have on us. So get back. That's it. Myrtle Fillmore said of those things, when you do negation or denial, do it gently, like a feather. Just get back. Oh, there it is again. Here's that vain doubt. Get back. Get back. All right, so time for another denial and affirmation. So if it's comfortable, you close your eyes if you like. Okay. I let go of the power, doubt, and worry over lack, limitation, and not enough have over me. God is, I am. Therefore, I know that there is more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. God is, I am. Therefore, I know that there is more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. Allow that to soak in for a minute. God is, I am. Therefore, I know that there is more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. All right, so we kind of filled ourselves up a little bit, right? With perspective, with conviction. And the last one is just pure joy. This is expectancy. That's when we're living in the faith of just knowing good stuff is coming. Good stuff is here. I have the good stuff within me. It's surrounding me. That's the third one, expectancy. That's the one I need to work on, frankly. I could do a little better with expectancy. Expectancy comes really when we set that intention. I would encourage you, if there's something, that first thing you imagine when you want to see more of enough through the magic mirror, ask to see it. Expectancy, I am going to see beauty. I'm going to see love. I'm going to see financial well-being. I'm going to see well-being in my body. Feel it. Know what is mine to do in order to care for myself, right? So ask expectancy. So again, from Reverend Linda, faith is our innate power to create our reality by our perceptions, our beliefs, and our interpretations. According to our faith, we live in assurance convictions. According to our faith, we expect. She calls it joyous expectancy. So that's just the fun part. That's the fun part. And I'm going to share just one last thing from the Fillmores. So after, I'm not sure how long after Charles and Myrtle Fillmore passed on, made their transition, or what we call death, a document was found called the Covenant. And this was written in 1892. And this was not something that they shared with others. But I find it very inspiring because to me, this shows their expectancy. This shows their faith. And honestly, I think if you feel inspired, write your own covenant, or whatever that is. I really encourage that. This is what they wrote. Like I said, this wasn't shared. This was between them and that which we call God. All right? We, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, all we have and all we expect to have, to the Spirit of truth, and through it to the Society of Silent Unity. It being understood and agreed that said Spirit of truth shall render unto us an equivalent for this dedication, in peace of mind, health and body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and an abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every want, without our making any of these things the object of our existence. You can find that online anywhere. If you go Covenant, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. And then they signed it in the presence of the conscious mind of Christ Jesus, the 7th day of December AD, 1892. Charles Fillmore, Myrtle Fillmore. And you can find the signed document. It's really quite inspiring. So they would say, so there's more than enough. There's more than enough for them to do their job. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore lived abundant lives in many ways. They weren't millionaires. They had budgets. They had a certain amount. Myrtle had her fairy house, which basically for meant was a house without a kitchen, ladies. Because her mother, she had a house without her kitchen on Unity grounds because her mother-in-law did all the cooking. You know, that was abundance to her. So these people lived in conviction, and that was their way of saying expectancy. So I encourage you, I wanted to share their story because it's a story of faith. It is a story of more than enough. And when we think about this more than enough, just when you get those messages, also we have so much hidden in our subconscious, those messages of us not being enough. You're more than enough. Don't beat yourself up for it. Get back to where you came from. I can't remember my words anyway, but get back. All right. So we're going to do one last denial affirmation. So I let go of the power, doubt, worry over lack, limitation, and not enough have over me. Get back. God is, I am. Therefore, I live in joyful expectancy, knowing that there's more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. Allow those words to sink in. God is, I am. Therefore, I live in joyful expectancy, knowing that there is more than enough of whatever I need to live a happy, productive, purposeful, and peaceful life. So it is. And so I'm just going to encourage you, you do have your own magic mirror. You can look out into the world using your perspective, reminding yourself of your conviction, of your faith, and actually in joyous expectancy to know that there is more than enough of every single thing each and every one of us needs It's not, I get what I need and you don't. It doesn't work that way. It's for all of us. So I encourage you to live joyfully in this knowledge, to share all you know and understand about this with everyone you meet. And I know as each of us takes steps forward to do just that, we will live in a world where each of us knows there is indeed more than enough.